I am often asked, what kind of characters would you like to play? Who would you like to play who throughout history? And just something always struck me about Lizzie.
And you didn't see anyone else enter the house?
No, I did not.
Lizzie Borden grew up in Fall River at the turn of the 19th century. She is at a time in her life where she's reaching the realization that she isn't going to be married and is going to have to stay in her family home with her father, who she loves but is very controlling and domineering.
I'm going to the theater.
You'll not leave this house unaccompanied.
Well, I leave this house unaccompanied every day, Father.
You heard me, Lizzie.
And you, me, Father. She's just kind of outsider icon, this gothic weirdo icon. But then the more I read about her, I think she was really misunderstood, and she was living in a time where there's a lot of oppression for women, and it was hard to have lives without men.
Andrew is a classic Victorian businessman and the driver of some of Lizzie's tortures.
I tell you this out of kindness, Lizzie. You are not helping your cause.
Andrew generates a fair amount of pain for those around him. He commits horrible sins.
Be a sweet girl, Maggie.
I found it to be really stifled and restrained and uncomfortable, and about a girl who is entirely progressive and smart and curious, and it kind of takes a topical issue and finds the roots of some of that adversity that women face.
Have I done something? Your arrogance borders on the stupefying.
How it parallels women's circumstances today is frightening.
The story is really about a woman who discovers that she needs to do whatever it takes to be free. And I think that's something that all of us go through in one way or another in our lives. But in her situation, it was so extreme, and she saw no way of really having control over her own life. And that feeling is really impossible to feel every day. And I think eventually you reach a breaking point. People always say, do you think Lizzie is crazy? She's not crazy. She's trapped. And I think she does whatever it takes to free herself from what will essentially be a lifelong prison sentence. And unfortunately, she used violent means to do so. But I do understand it.
What I admire about the script is that it also shows us how Lizzie struggles. And that was the compelling thing to me, because we come in with, a magnifying glass.
When I started developing it, I actually thought the best way to tell the story would be as like a game of Clue. I asked my friend Bryce Cass, who I've known for years, to write the script for me.
When Chloe first brought me the project, I was a little resistant, actually, because I knew what everyone else knew about the nursery rhyme and this woman who killed her parents, and she was sort of the first sort of tabloid star of her time. She was kind of the OJ of her time. When I started doing my own research, I sort of discovered that she was a much richer character than I had previously imagined. She was just someone who I could really relate to, and I didn't expect that.
You're an abomination, Lizzie.
And at last we were on equal footing, Father.
She was someone who was just trapped in a situation and saw no way out of it but the way that she chose. And she's a proto-feminist icon. And of course, I saw immediately why Chloe was so fascinated with the character and was dying to play her.
We were wondering, why does your family keep the house so dark?
Father doesn't believe in light.
Why live that way when you can afford not to?
He finds it extravagant. It was a very sensational story worldwide, and people were shocked that this genteel woman in the Victorian times could have done these ghastly murders with a hatchet. It was a very brutal, gruesome crime.
And action!
I had heard Lizzie Borden, the axe murderess. I wasn't entirely familiar with the story, but when you're reading the script, you love her, you really root for her, and then all of a sudden she's this like insane person. It definitely calls into question the whole idea of good and evil, and do you ever really actually know a person?
We have the trial transcripts, and when you read Lizzie's testimony, it's so frank and it's so candid. She makes no apologies for herself. She makes no attempt to blame anyone else for the crime. And I think for a woman accused of such brutal crimes at that time to sort of stand her ground and say, this is what happened, I was like, who is she? I really need to know more about her.
I already have it all. And money can buy many things, John. As you know, a hungry man is capable of anything. Little is really known about her. There aren't that many real facts. I looked over some of my older research, went through some of the books, and then I started reading some biographies of Emily Dickinson, which is a similar time period and kind of a similar circumstance, a little bit of a shut-in, and had a really rich inner life, but was kind of squelched, and she had a really specific relationship with one of her maids. And so reading about that was a way to gain entry into our version of Lizzie.
Sorry this is happening to you. I'm ashamed to be his daughter.
I was never that interested in the trial. I was never that interested in the events of the aftermath. For me, what was interesting is speculating about what happened in that house, what led up to that place where we find Lizzie in the mythology. And so I started with who was there at the time of the crime and who were these people to each other.
The Bridget character is kind of the least realized because we knew the least about her. And in Bryce's and my version, after having been in the house so many times, it's hard to imagine that Lizzie and Bridget were not in cahoots.
I won't let anyone hurt you. You gotta promise that. I will make good on it. If you need my help, you have it.
Bridget and Lizzie's relationship really becomes the primary focus of the film. But in the beginning, you're sort of just like, is she just a maid? And Kristen does that so well in every scene. There's a magnetism about her that is undeniable. She can really do so much just with a simple gesture or with her eyes. She's sometimes just standing there and her eyes are literally burning through the screen.
I was definitely trying to seduce her via emails and text messages and lure her in to our world. And I was like, let's smash the patriarchy. But I think that she saw that it was something special and wanted to support me as a fellow actress and human and woman. And it's really generous of her to come down here and give us her time and efforts. And she's brought so much to the script.
What is it you want? I want us to try. You're dreaming.
To be honest, I would have done anything with Chloe. She's an executive producer on this. She's been developing it for a number of years, and I'm a huge fan. I think she's so talented.
We have such an amazing female cast.
You hear that?
Collaborating with Chloe is very natural. I think there's something about Lizzie that is very direct and very strong, but also insanely opaque. And I can really understand why Chloe would be drawn to playing this part. And what's so great about writing for an actor that you know so well, you can really not only understand what the choices they might make are, but you can hear them talking already. It's a real luxury for a writer.
Don't you even think of misjudging me.
No, John. I believe it's you who's misjudged me.
I've always admired the work of Chloe and Kristen Stewart. It's the cast, the crew, the whole thing has been very graceful.
Did you see that?
I did.
When a movie is cohesive and when you get the right people together, it's sort of like this group effort. And everyone's really impressive. It's a really good group.
Have you been schooling?
Some.
Men don't have to know things, Bridget. Women do. I haven't had this much responsibility that often in my career. There's just so much talent. I feel like everybody feels like really excited to be here and involved in the project, and hopefully we'll, trigger some sort of thought or emotion about, you know, where women were and where we are now and how we can help other women.